Hi, so I'm Chinwei. I'm the CEO of PocketSuite. Thanks so much for taking the time. We're really excited to learn more about you and to hear from you, uh, and to share your story to inspire others. So thanks.
Thank
Sean,
you.
you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Sean. I'm the new managing editor at PocketSuite. And
Congratulations.
thank you very much. And I'm learning a lot very quickly and reaching out to people in our community and trying to build a stronger community where we share ideas and tips and we speak to each other. So
Awesome.
yeah.
Shannon, we have dubbed this conversation the PocketSuite Lounge. So this is super relaxed. We were going to bring cocktails, but we each have something to drink. So feel free to grab
Hold
something.
on.
Perfect.
I'm gonna get some
Totally forget it. It's super relaxed. Okay, perfect.
little ad for Diet Pepsi.
Love it.
Probably have to delete that actually.
Not at all. So we just wanted to take some time and talk to you a little bit about what we're seeing in the market, just so you have a sense of just across the country, the kind of macroeconomic picture. I know you must be watching the news and getting news in a variety of places. We'll share it with you from the angle of pros like you around the country. And then we'd love to hear your story and learn from you, and then also answer any questions that you have just about business and the future, any perspective.
Sounds good.
Awesome. So I'm just going to be really candid. When the quarantine started, it was I think it was March 14th. San Francisco shut its doors. We are based in San Francisco, PocketSuite, and we have team members around the country, but our headquarters are in San Francisco. We saw an immediate decline because 30 to 40% of our pros are people who do things in person, right? So they're beauty pros, they're fitness, they're dog trainers.
Okay.
And so we saw that immediate decline. The other thing we saw is a whole set of folks going up. So we saw therapists like you, life coaches. We saw a whole set of other tutors that just started skyrocketing. And so it was just this weird, we sort of have this weird kind of Jekyll and Hyde moment. So that was kind of it was
shame
we weren't clear as to how do we support. Some folks were like, hey, let's keep it going, and others it's like, what can we do to work through this? So fast forward, we sort of April came, and starting mid-April, as news of reopenings began, we started seeing everyone start to climb again.
Interesting.
It was a very interesting shift. People got out ahead in some cases of their county opening and started reaching back out to their clients. They had been communicating this whole time, but they started reaching back out and setting things up. And there was a lot of pent-up demand.
I'm sure.
So, and now we're in this place of literally, we're 50 to 70% of the way back from where we were when the quarantine initially happened.
Okay.
So a huge rebound. So that for us was like a big eye-opening moment. And we started thinking about, when has this happened before in history? And I know this is unprecedented, right? The way in which this happened. But if you look at the last recession, our category, people who work for themselves, did really well. TaskRabbit was born. Thumbtack was born. Stripe, our payment processor, was born during this period of time. So, what gives me like a lot of hope is that pros like you you're resilient. You're the trusted partner of your clients, right? Like they're coming to you to say, what do I do next? Like, how do I rebuild from here? You're in an amazing position. So I'm very confident that we're going to come out ahead of this. Yes, society will be different, but I think we're going to be helping to write the book as to what that new normal looks like. And so I'd love to hear from you on that. Just like anything you are experiencing now based on this sort of post-COVID-19 state.
Yeah, no, and it's interesting to hear your trajectory in your business, how it's impacted you. I think for me, one of the most eye-opening things was how adaptable clients have been to telehealth and Zoom. I use Zoom for our practice. And So coupled with how flexible people were, they still want that engagement. They still want to work on their goals. And it can be very isolating. And I think that's why there was that uptick in people who are therapists and coaches and running groups and offering this person-to-person experience, even though it's not the traditional in-person experience, it's still really valuable.
Yeah.
And I think, like you said, it is in many ways unprecedented. And so finding that new normal for people is not easy.
Yeah.
It's like any other change in life, if you look at it that way. Change is hard. I don't know that many people who embrace and like change. I always tell clients, even if you're moving to a new home that's great or you got a new job, there's still that transition period where you don't know what you don't know kind of deal.
Yeah.
And so I've just been in awe that I didn't lose one client, which, is a testament to like their trust in the therapeutic process and the relationship. And I also believe in learning from clients. And one of the key pieces that I was thinking of as you were talking is they said, it didn't hit me till now. And she was like saying, all my friends kind of had this upfront, oh my God, panic. And she was calm. And then all of a sudden, as time went on and it didn't start opening up, then the panic hit her. So it's kind of, you don't know when things are really going to hit. It's like grief, right?
Yeah.
You smell something, you see something, and it may have been a year or two and it hits you.
Yeah.
And so just being consistent and being there for clients is something that I think is 100% necessary right now, being there for each other in the community, helping where you can. I am super grateful that, I was not hit. I was not one of those industries that got hit as hard as some did.
Yeah.
And so really just trying to pay it forward and be there in a consistent way is important to me.
Yeah.
And are you how do you think about your practice? Is your practice specific to, where do you live? Are you in what city are you in?
So I'm in New Jersey. I just moved, so I apologize for the blank walls.
Not at all. You're in good company here.
Same.
Like blank walls and drinks. We've got refreshments. We're good now. Yeah, and so it's interesting. PocketSuite sort of follows my story. I work in an agency setting with a severe mentally ill population for adults. And then I used to work at Dale Carnegie as a coach, the How to Influence Friends and Influence People training consultant. So I kind of like swapped worlds, so to speak, in terms of population. But very meaningful work for me, what I consider the agency. But then I found there was like this gap, right, of this long history of training and development and coaching experience and wanting to be a well-rounded professional and not just work right where you kind of interned in your master's degree. I think it's important to be well-rounded and continue learning and all that stuff. And so my venture out into private practice, that's how I met PocketSuite, because I was like, this is going to be really tough to balance two schedules, two totally different, populations, areas, you name it. It couldn't be a world of difference, but that's how I just started Googling, help, how do I manage this? I wish I could remember what I Googled, and there was an article about PocketSuite and it was comparing it to, what was I comparing? I don't remember. I want to say like Google, or is there a Google app?
No, maybe Talk Therapy or
No, it was something about like.
Oh yeah, maybe it was it wasn't like WhatsApp.
No, it was more like a number, because one of the things I really liked was
it was, I think it might be Google Voice.
That, and then there was like another, I don't know what it was. It was another thing that was where it did appointments and things like that. But what really separated you guys was the HIPAA compliance.
Ooh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think a big thing is, as you talk about new normal, I think, as a therapist, you're taught, it's not ideal to text, it's not ideal to give out your personal cell, all this stuff, and I totally get it. So I wanted to think outside the box and find a way where I'm accessible, I can be consistent, I can follow up, I can keep my schedule in order in my mind, and also be easily accessible to clients. So I think when someone's down in the dumps or they're having a problem, mind you, not a crisis, you know, just that touch point of, hey, you know, we're still on for today, or whatever it may be. Here's what's going on. Just want to give you a heads up before session. And to have that be totally confidential and HIPAA compliant, that spoke miles to me. So that's why I went with PocketSuite.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, so I think it's a really important aspect as kind of we change with the times. I think that ability to be accessible in a more technology forward way is important for me, you know.
What's interesting is you made this shift like on your own. Like there wasn't a forcing function for you. You just decided to make it. And we're seeing right now more and more people decide either, hey, I want to do something on the side, or I actually do want to make a change. I want to be part of making a difference for whatever the population is.
Yeah.
So as you think about like having made that shift, what was the hardest part?
The hardest part, that's a really good question. I think the hardest part for me, I want to give this thought. Just give me a second.
No, please.
I think the big difference between an agency, nonprofit, and private practice, that the thing that I feared the most was that it would be lonely. And I think the craft group where I work in the private practice is so team oriented, and they make an intentional effort to be a team. So even though, you know, I'm sitting in the room alone with a client, I don't necessarily have someone right next door, they're a phone call away, they're a text away, you know, they're open to new ideas, we collaborate all the time. And it's interesting because it really happened when COVID happened. So Zoom has been super, super helpful in just getting that face-to-face touch point with the clinical director and the executive owner, founder, you know, and they've been wonderful. So I think it's been a pleasant surprise that it's not as lonely as I thought it would be. And there was a lot of fear around that, you know, do you make the switch to such a different, you know, team environment kind of thing?
You know, it's when I was talking to one of my best friends, and she said, it is a very strange experience building a relationship from the start over video conference. Like some of the best moments you have with people is you're sitting shoulder to shoulder, you're maybe looking at something, the birds, or you know, you're having a meal and you can look around, but now it's eye to eye and you're having to really go deep. So it's, yeah, I mean, and again, you're in the practice of building that relationship every time with every client. That's amazing.
And I don't underestimate. I think it's, you know, if anything, it speaks more to the client's ability to trust. And it's funny you bring that up because actually the other day I was talking to a client who I'd never met in person. And just her ability to blossom and share and be vulnerable. I gave her, you know, positive feedback on that the other day. I'm like, you know, you realize that's amazing. You know, like not every person is able to do that and share themselves, you know, over technology without ever having met me in person. So it's important that, you know, we as clinicians, as therapists, as helping professionals realize that just as it may be awkward for us to think about, what is it like for them? What's their experience?
So because people are making the shift, we're asking ourselves some tough questions as to how we can make the road a little easier. We're just starting out and we don't know anything. And so we wanted to talk to the experts about what do you wish you had known, like when you started on your journey, and like what would you share with someone who's just starting out about how to build not just a practice but a life that practice.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, is building a life. I think, you know, in my career coaching, I never forget about the life as a whole, right? Because where you work, you spend a lot of time, certainly, and building in time for you and the life that you want to create as a result of your efforts and your, you know, fruits of your labor, whatnot, is really important too. And I had a professor who said, never work harder than your client.
Oh, wow.
And I was really struck by that. And I really think it's so true because it's so empowering. You know, if I'm sitting there solving the problems for everybody, that's not really what my role is, right? My role is to build problem solving skills within other people. And so getting back to your question is
that's the answer. You've just That's amazing.
But life, so it's just that just got me thinking about that. It's just balancing your life, right? Walking the talk of, if I'm going to pitch self-care to people, I best be doing that myself. And having that as like a reminder to me every time you say it, are you living up to that?
Yeah.
Are you making time? Are you blocking out time on PocketSuite, right? Like self-care hour, unplug hour, right?
I love
And
that.
sometimes that's what it takes.
I love it.
You should have a tab, self-care hour.
Done.
I'm going to write that down.
Please
You
do.
should. Own it.
Next IG post. So what do you say to folks who say, you know what, you are in a privileged position of having clients, of like having that recurring income, of having their trust. I'm just starting out. I thought entrepreneurship was about like going to the wall so I can get to where you are. Like, is there an element of like, depending on where you are in the business building, does that change, or can you hold that principle right from the beginning?
Yeah, I think you have to trust your instincts in this field. And, it's like, I compare it to if you're in an orchestra, it's not like you have a violin or an instrument that you're playing, like you are your business, right? So your ability to be genuine, your ability to learn and grow and be with the times, take trainings that are important, and realizing that you can't be everything for everyone. There's no shame in that. It's okay. It's okay to say to a client, I've never dealt with this, but let me find out. Let's work through this together.
Yeah.
The permission to know that that's okay is a big building block to being successful in the future, because you're never going to know everything. Humans are unpredictable. But if you can just center yourself and have confidence in yourself, and again, walk that talk, be your brand, that's going to bring you success.
Is there anyone or anything that was instrumental in you getting to where you are today, like a resource that others could access that you think is worth sort of shouting out?
Yeah, so ladies, you can't access my husband, but a shout out to my husband. No, and I mean that sincerely. Making a career shift for me was a risk, going back to school, later on in life, and taking that leap of faith. Counseling, especially in the beginning, is not a lucrative nonprofit agency job. And he supported me through that. And I think finding people in your life who are going to stick with you and lift you up and be there when you've had a rough day, or, there's clients that are talking about really heavy stuff and they're right there with you, that's important. So whether it's your husband or your dog and your family or your friends, don't take them for granted. Let them help you. Just be you, and utilize the people around you, and don't take them for granted either, because we are social beings. That point of connection, I can't stress enough.
Shannon, just by the way you're answering these questions, like, I just know you're really good at what you do. Like, no, seriously, I just like the stuff that's coming out of your mouth. I feel like you're giving us some coaching right now.
I have to say, it's odd not being the one asking the questions. I'm catching myself like, oh, so tell me about like this. How did you become here? And I'm like, no.
Well, no, let me turn the mic. I just, ask, what's on your mind? Anything that we can respond to and be helpful with, or anything you're curious about.
Well, I'd love to know just sort of what this initiative is, what it looks like for you, and how come now,
Yeah.
I haven't been with PocketSuite for years and years, but, and also I'll let you answer that. And then when is the video component coming?
Right, exactly. The video conference. Yeah, good.
Video conference, yeah.
So we're a little delayed in releasing the video conference feature, but we are looking to release next weekend. So it should be available by the following Monday. So stay tuned. Yeah.
And that will be HIPAA compliant?
It will be HIPAA compliant, end-to-end decrypted. Eat your heart out, Zoom.
Love it. I love it.
So the reason why we're doing this video series, and it's the beginning of a much bigger effort, is we believe our journey is really about helping anyone work for themselves and make a great living. And we want, being a solopreneur, being someone who works for yourself, we want that to be as rewarding and financially satisfying as being an investment banker or being a surgeon or whatever it is. I mean, you should be able to do that. And one of the things that we've seen is that when you ask 9 out of 10 people who don't work for themselves, would they like to, they'll say, hell yes. And then they'll follow it by saying, how would I sustain my life? Like, how would I continue to do all the things I love and so forth? And there isn't a good answer to that right now. Like, people are having to figure it out and reinvent the wheel and and navigate paths that are well trodden, right? In terms of like people going down this road. And our position is that, you know, PocketSuite's just one small piece of a bigger puzzle of how do we make the path to going from I want to go out on my own to I am, you know, working for myself and making a great living. How do we make that a smoother, more transparent, less friction-laden path? And so,
you know, like taking out some of the business fear that comes, like, you know, I'm a therapist. I don't know a thing about numbers. I'll leave that to you and to the billing. And
yeah,
you know, so you do take out a big component of, you know, the organization. I don't use the billing because of the functions of my job and my role. But you know, certainly if I did, it takes out an enormous part of the legwork.
So it's, for us, it's, you know, it's one piece, and we think hearing directly from folks who are doing it or successful at it and sort of being able to share that as part of the being part of the PocketSuite community is a really huge step in the right direction to demystifying it for others who are literally on the sidelines waiting to be able to jump in or navigating and having a hard time with it. So this is the beginning. There's a lot more that we're going to do, and we're going to reach back out and, you know, get your feedback on a lot of stuff. So, you know, I appreciate you just taking this time to share a few words with us. We are going to come out with an ebook, which is literally a reference guide for people who are just starting out and just trying to figure out what are those, you know, what type of programs are available for people who want to study therapy, what are you know, certifications, licensing, all of that. So, you know, we'll likely be, you know, reaching out to
feel free. It's state by state. So it's a little tricky, but just in general, accreditation in a university is going to help so much. Anyone who's going back to school.
Yes.
I like Sean. Yes. Okay.
Well, see, I feel like the therapist here. I don't say anything, but I take it back.
But you're there.
I hear everything.
I know.
So
actually, I'm sorry to interject just because I love to talk, but I had one question, and this is a general interest question. You said it takes quite a bit of confidence and trust to do the video conferencing thing, but I wonder if there's another side of your practice where more people are also more confident and more at home being distanced.
Or being in their home.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Comfortable in their environment, but also because there is a bit of a disconnect, maybe they feel safer. It's a general interest question. Do you find, just because you're so far away and I'm way over here?
Right. You know, I didn't think about it like that. I think a good answer to that question will be when things open up, who decides to stay on, you know, virtual as opposed to who comes back.
So you'll keep both options.
Interesting experiment.
Will you keep both? You'll definitely keep.
100%. I think there's value in both.
That's awesome.
You know, I think it makes it accessible to a wider range of people, and, you know, there are people who can't get out, right? I mean, there could gas money, whatever it is, you know, I don't work in a handicap accessible building right now. So if teletherapy and Zoom, whatever you want to call it, online distance counseling brings my services to a wider population, then I'm all for it.
Well, it's funny because we've talked to a lot of folks who have said, I've always wanted to add the virtual component to my practice, but I just never had the time to kind of organize everything. And I'm definitely never going back. Like this will always be a part of this. So it's a positive thing that's come out of, you know, a challenge.
For sure.
Yeah.
Right.
So final question, how, like, if we sort of, as we sort of share your story, how would you like us to share it in terms of like the name you'd like us to use with the craft group? Would you like to use your name specifically? And then any quote any quote that you'd like to end with that just kind of gives us a feeling for kind of where your head's at right now.
Sure. So if we're, it's a funny question. Yeah. So feel free to use both Shannon and Theobald at the craft group.
Okay.
I'm very proud to work there. So being affiliated with that is perfect.
Cool.
We're launching a new website soon, so I'm pretty excited for that. So www.thecraftgroupinc.org will be great.
Nice.
If you
Okay.
can include the link, because I don't have the booking through
Okay.
PocketSuite.
Okay.
So thank you for asking about that, and I appreciate it. And then, so I before I work for the craft group, have my own little thing about lemons and love, and I work a lot in relationships, and I really think that, you know, one life gives you lemons, which it does to everybody, make something sweet.
Nice.
Yeah. And you know, we don't, someone wise once told me we don't get to pick the cards we're dealt, but it's how we play them.
Yep.
And I think those are two kind of versions of the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Let's play on.
Absolutely. Let's play. I love that.
Thank you so much, Shannon.
Thank you.